Hello, welcome to the Brand Bravery podcast. I'm Amy Purdy, the Brand Explorer, and I am here to help inspire you to bravely overcome your challenges on your business journey by hearing how others have overcome theirs, pushing forward and taking the next step, whatever that needs to be at the time.
It's a brand new adventure for your business journey.
In this episode, I'm speaking with Rachel McClumpha. Rachel is a brand photographer who helps creative businesses shine by capturing their gorgeous products and the behind the scenes of their business process. I have been a client of Rachel's, both as a person for photographs of myself and photographs of my products in the past with another business that I used to have, and she has been just amazing for both kinds of photography, which she absolutely excels at. She's fantastic. And in this episode, she's going to be talking about making big decisions during setting up her business and some more recent ones as well, and how that has all gone for her. So when you were 8, your granddad gave you a Kodak camera. Was that like the first moment that you realised that you liked photography?
Yeah, definitely. I just used to play with it all the time, and I was just fascinated, I think, even if it didn't have a film in it, because that was back in the day when, it was all film cameras. And I think even when when there wasn't a film in, I would just still pretend that I was going around taking photographs. So for some reason, I was quite fascinated by it. But funnily enough, it never occurred to me to kind of want to do it as a job. I was creative and arty as a child, but I think maybe it was to do with the fact there wasn't any sort of female photography role models when I was, that age, or even getting a little bit older into my teenage years. It was very much a male sort of industry, and not that I never consciously thought, oh, I can't do it, but it just never really occurred to us. So yeah, but always there in the background. I always had a little camera at some point when I was out with my friends or going on holidays and things. So definitely a passion there.
Yeah. Well, then you didn't do photography. So something must have happened that made you do something completely different and then come back to it. So, and I love that you came back to it and that you can sort of trace it back to being little Rachel. So what happened after that? You went off to college and got a job doing something completely unrelated to photography.
Yeah, definitely. So I went off to art college to do art and design, and then ended up in a computer games company, which felt quite random, but it was still, it was to do with art. I ended up doing 3D art for computer games, and that was my job for like 15 years or something. And it was good, and felt like that was going to be my career forever, but I think just somewhere inside of us, I was like, when you just kind of don't feel like you're not doing what you want, it isn't your passion. And I still had the photography going on as a hobby in the background. And I think it got to that point where people were actually starting to ask me to do photography for them, especially like, people I knew who'd had babies. It was like, oh, will you come and take a picture of my baby? And I thought, yeah, okay, yeah. And the idea of business was still like, well, like it wasn't going to be a business, but I'd help families out here and there, and charge tiny amounts for prints and things like that. But it kind of gave us a little bit of a confidence, and I thought, maybe I could do this. But I'm going back like this is sort of like 15, 20 years ago, which seems like a crazy amount of time when I think of it.
It is.
But it is, isn't it? But the thought of actually having my own business, it just felt so like it just wasn't me. I didn't know anybody else who had their own business at that point. There was very little support, not like there is now, where there's sort of fully funded training popping up here, there, and everywhere, and there's lots of networks going on. It wasn't like that back then. So I was kind of like just, oh, well, maybe I can do this, but I don't kind of know where to start. And do I just put an ad in the Yellow Pages? Because that's what you did back then.
Yeah.
So it was very much a slow burner, and I was able to leave my the job I was in. I kind of got to a point where I was like, right, you know what, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I had my first son, and I think at that moment, I don't know, like if a lot of people go through this, where you you get to the point when you have children, sometimes I think your life sort of changes and you really reassess where you are and what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, now seems to be that time. I'm off on maternity leave. I've got some space in my life, even though I'm kind of like a full-time mom as well. But, it gave us kind of like that headspace to think, do I want to go back to that career? Or do I actually want to do something else now? And that was the catalyst, definitely, for me. But like I say, really kind of like just muddling through, trying to work out what to do. And yeah, it was quite scary. But I think when you've got the passion there, you work it out. You find sort of ways to make it work. So yeah, it's now I think very different for businesses, and they do get a lot more support. And I think even there's so many small businesses that you often you come across somebody else, whether you're in the schoolyard or something, there's usually somebody else who's trying to make a small business go as well. So yeah, it's much nicer environment now.
Yes, I think it's very up and down, isn't it? Like the funding to get started with business. But when I started mine 13 and a little bit years ago, I think I was one of the last people to get grant funding so I could buy my computers.
Yes.
I don't think that's quite so easy to get a hold of now. And you must have needed an awful lot of equipment, because I mean, we can see if people on YouTube can see behind you how much stuff there is. And photography there's lots of bits and pieces, isn't there, to do with cameras and lighting and all of that sort of stuff. And then I don't know when digital photography started, but I feel like it probably had started by then. But maybe it's not when you were at college. I don't know. I mean, I did a week's photography when I was at college, and we went in the dark room, and I loved it. I got to go in twice because I did terrible photographs the first time. I was quite pleased in a way.
Well, that's a really good point, actually, because it did get much more accessible when the digital cameras came out. And because I think when it was all film, it did feel like it was a harder sort of thing to do. It was constantly sort of like, send the film off, and then you got the pictures back. And, there wasn't that being able to edit them as well, like you can now. So the career I was in, I actually used Photoshop and different software already. So it was like a natural transition that when the digital cameras came out, I already knew how to do all of that stuff. So I think that kind of just opened up a whole new world for me. It was like, well, I can do this. People like my photos, they're prepared to pay for it. And I can, and do all these edits that they want. If they want like retouching or something, I can do that. I know how. So yeah, it was definitely much more accessible once the digital cameras came out. But I think, in terms of equipment, I think you just have to build that as you go. I certainly didn't start with all of this.
Well, no, you wouldn't.
I think I forked out quite a bit initially for the camera and the lenses that I needed. But a lot of the other stuff just had to wait until I could actually afford it. And, you have to sort of work out your pricing and your whole business strategy and your marketing and all those things. And you just think, oh my goodness, I don't know where to start. Sometimes you've just got to work it out yourself. And then it's so nice, or when you do get, the funds behind you, to be able to ask professionals for help.
Yeah. Oh,
so
definitely.
Like with the whole branding thing with you, it was just so nice to be able to say, Amy, I need a complete rebrand. Just help us. Just tell us what I need, and because I think you can go around in circles trying to do it yourself. Absolutely. So
you can. And I loved working on your brand there. I definitely wanted to talk about the benefit, the impact that you have on the people that you work for. So you do product photography, don't you? Which is amazing. And I've used both kinds of photography, haven't I? And you do people photography. I'm hesitant to say headshots because whilst you do headshots, I feel like it's more than a headshot. Is that does that feel correct? Yeah, I feel like it's more of an experience and detail and getting all the bits right to really help get the story across. In fact, I made a video this week, which hasn't been published yet, but will have done by the time this goes out, about imagery in your brand, like using illustrations and icons and stuff. And I think, photography is a different way of doing that you need to have that as well. Like you can have like props and stuff in the background, but actually just having really good photos of yourself builds so much confidence in being able to present yourself to other people and share about your business. And if you've got really good product photography, then that makes the product look a lot better than it does if you try doing it yourself. And I've done both, and it really does make a difference when you've got professional ones. I think there's something to be said for having a few selfies here or there, and I use those as well. But I think knowing that you've got really good photos for the things that really matter in the website and stuff, and then to use on your social to like elevate what you've got there already makes such a huge difference. And you really work hard to build confidence, don't you?
Yeah, I think especially with the portrait sort of shots, like the headshots and the branding, I think that does massively give people confidence, and that's great for me because I just love to see, people, especially women, who are really self-conscious a lot of the time about having their photograph taken, and sometimes they'll cling on to some photograph of themselves like 10 years ago on holiday, they might have liked that picture and they just keep using it for their profile picture, because they're so nervous about getting new headshots taken or new, like going for the full branding kind of shoot. But it's great to see, like, once they make that decision and we start the process and we do the shoot, and then they've got all these pictures, it's just like, it's great to see them using them and feeling confident and actually liking, to put the pictures on social media. Because I know sometimes, it can feel like, I think some people don't like to put themselves out there, but if it's a good picture of themselves, and especially I particularly like the photographs that are capture people's personalities, so like just capturing the smiley pictures or the daft pictures and things like that. It's great to see them using those kind of pictures, because I think those are the ones that are really engaging for other people to see, and more sort of real. So,
definitely.
It's really good, and I think it gives their customers confidence in them. So I think when you're looking at, you're glancing through somebody's website or you're on social media and you see some really nice professional pictures, you sort of feel like that business is a proper business. It's
they're taking themselves seriously.
They've invested in it. They've had these lovely pictures done. They look good. So there's like that element of trust comes into it as well. So confidence all around.
Yes, there's quite a lot of similarity there between what I do and what you do. That I think when you get the two together, it makes things so much better. And it's like it explodes it, isn't it? It's like you sort of going, wow, this is great. And you can see like everything about what it is that the person in the business is trying to convey through the imagery. And if you put the two together, it's like this magic.
Yeah,
so everyone needs
it does. It really works.
Well, I know also, because we just talked about confidence there, and I was reminded of the calendar project that you did a little while ago, which do you want to talk about that a little bit, and about how that empowered the women that you photographed?
That was really good fun. So I was asked to get involved in a naked charity calendar shoot, and went up to Kielder. There was only supposed to be a few women who were going to get involved, but a lot of other women came along just to kind of be there for the event and sort of for moral support. But these really confident women were just like, okay, take a picture of me. And we did it from, they were facing away from me. So it was just like a shoulders and bottom kind of naked shot. but they were looking out over the lake, and it was just really tastefully done. But what was quite funny was because all these other women were just like, actually, I think and they were whipping off their clothes and like jumping into the shoot and getting their photograph taken. And the atmosphere was amazing. And it was just so amazing to see how it affected the women. They were loving it. They were having a great time. And I think they all felt this sort of self-acceptance and, this, I feel, who cares? I'm just going to do this, and feel so liberated. And for me, it was just great to be a part of that and to capture them and to, I don't know, just to feel like this sort of sisterhood or whatever, it sounds a bit cheesy, but it was just really lovely to be involved in that. So lots of fun. And, I feel like in a small way, I made a difference to them. There was some of them contacted me later and they loved the picture that I had taken of them. And they were like, oh my goodness, I was so self-conscious, or I felt like I didn't like my body, but I've seen the picture and it's lovely. And, I'm going to get it printed out and put in my bedroom or something like that. And I was just like, oh, that's so nice. I'm so glad that I've made them feel a little bit better about themselves. And so, yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was a really good one.
I think that's lovely. There's definitely a lot of positive feedback going around. Like,
Yeah.
I remember loads of it. But I think that's also really good because I'm thinking about how you made them feel about their bodies, and often we feel really uncomfortable about. We all do, don't we? We all have hang-ups at some point. Some of us maybe shed them a little bit earlier than others, but I think sometimes we have things that we don't like about ourselves. And I think the great thing about working with you is that you know what all those things are and you accept all those things, but you also know how to make people feel better about them, so that when they get the photos, they're not going to be just looking at the tummy or whatever. They're going to see like something that isn't just tummy, but like how amazing they are. And you have all of those techniques, don't you? I don't know if you still have that freebie with poses on, but you've got all of that nailed for when people are in a shoot with you.
Yeah, I have. I need to tweak the things on my website, but yes, I have got that available. It's I don't like to be one of those sort of branding photographers who, necessarily encourages people to really be something they're not. It's I don't want like a stylist to come in and totally dress them up and put loads of makeup on them, and because that's not, I kind of prefer to work with people who want to just be more natural and who it's more about just them as a person. I don't feel like they need to be completely changed. It's it might sound cheesy. It's that authenticity which is completely overused and bandied about these days, but it is true.
For good reason.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I think people can see straight through all that sort of fakeness. So I try to encourage women to just have a good time on the photo shoot, get, the laughter and the smiles are the things that make the difference on photographs, and just being able to help women, feel comfortable and relaxed, able to do that is the best thing, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. So in your journey through working through your business since all that time, you've obviously worked on some amazing projects. What do you think this is a bit putting you on the spot. I should have prepared you for this. What's your favourite project that you've worked on so far? Are you able to come up with just one?
Oh my goodness, that is really tough. I don't think
it is really tough, to be honest. I struggle with that too.
yeah, that's a very difficult one. But I think to take it in a slightly different direction, the question, what I have done is I've niched more into certain areas. So when I said before, I'd started off doing a lot of baby and family photographs. After a while, I got more into commercial, and I did both for a long time. And I think I got to the point probably about 4 or 5 years ago where I was just like, oh my God, it's just so overwhelmed because my website was trying to attract families, but also trying to attract businesses. My social media was the same, and I was like, oh, do I need to have 2 websites and 2 different social media channels just so I can cater to the different people? And I toyed with that idea for a long time, and it was a tough one, but I eventually came to the decision that I was going to cut off the whole family and baby photo shoots. So I kind of pruned that off my business. Kind of like, it felt like like sort of losing a business limb for a little bit, and I was like, have I done the right thing? Because I did enjoy that side of it.
Yeah.
But I think from a just kind of focus and clarity point of view, I was like, no, if I'm just going to get rid of that, I'm going to focus on the commercial. And then within that, in the last couple of years, 18 months, I've kind of niched a little bit more. So now I work more with creative people. So I do work with any commercial client, so any business really. But my marketing is all focused around people who make things, people who sell products, crafts, artists, artisans, all of those. And so to come back to what you asked, I think my favorite type of work is helping, artists and creative people. And I do their product photography, and I do their headshots and portraits and the behind the scenes of their studio. So it all kind of works really well. So yeah, that's my favoriteest kind of job.
I can totally see why you would like that, because you get the best of both worlds, don't you, with the product and people, and getting to show them all at the same time, and all of that. I can see that working really well. It was a really hard question.
I love
you
it.
did really well there.
Well, I think because I've got such an appreciation for art, going back to my childhood, that I just love being around those type of people as well, and seeing what they're doing. I'm just that's lush, and oh, look at that, oh, you're so talented, and I'm so like envious at the same time. But
it's so easy to get enthusiastic about, isn't it? And when you can see the making process and everything too, it's just wonderful. Definitely. I love that. But then you now have different ways that people can buy from you as well, don't you? So it's not just a case of giving you up and go, Rachel, I need this. You can be like, oh, you can do this, and you can sort it out this way, or you can go down the subscription route. So do you want to talk about that as well? Because I think that it is quite brave to put in different ways for people to be able to work with you, especially if it's not the norm for photographers worldwide.
That it was a new offering that I created last year, because I sort of felt like there was a bit of a need for this, having regular photo shoots rather than somebody just sending me a big bulk load. And I was like, okay, how can I kind of structure a new offering which people can send me things, a small collection of things monthly or bi-monthly or just seasonally, and it helps their cash flow because they're not having to just pay for a lump. They can just spread it out. They know how much is going out every month, and they're going to get regular photography every month, which is great for their social media. And it seems like a complete no-brainer. So I kind of sat down and worked it out and tried to price it, and it does take a bit of time to do things like that, because you're like, oh, it's got to work for them, but it's got to work for me as well. How to make it as easy as possible. So I created this subscription photography, and it's going really well actually. My clients so far they're finding it great, and we started off with just like a 6-month like a contract just to see how it went, and there's only one person stopped that, and that's because they haven't got any more products for me to take. They're done now. But everybody else has rolled on, and it's just like, they're obviously getting a lot of benefit out of it, and it's working. So it's great. Really pleased I did it. When you just think, why didn't I do it ages ago? Yeah,
It makes sense, doesn't it? Once it's
It
there,
does.
it's like, oh, that's
Yeah,
so obvious.
yeah,
Because it's not like you just for bakers, it's not like you just create a product once and then keep selling the
yeah,
same thing over and over again. It's
yeah,
new things all the time, isn't it? Different colours or little tweaks
yeah,
to whatever they've done or different products, and it just seems like the most obvious thing in the world. So that's awesome, and I can
yeah,
see how enthusiastic you got talking about that. You obviously really love having people
yeah,
on the subscription, giving you
yeah,
the work regularly, which means as well you can build up that relationship and
yeah,
come up with more ideas for them as well,
yeah,
which must be
yeah.
lovely.
It is nice
Yeah,
because sometimes they might want something a little different as well. So it's like, well, actually, this month I really could do with a really nice hero image from a website, so a nice wide one.
yeah,
Or, or this month I need some products on a white background because I'm going to be sending them off to magazines for PR. So they can just keep, changing what they need. It doesn't have to
yeah,
be the same kind of shoot every time as well. So yeah,
yeah.
it's good.
Brilliant. So I was hoping that you would share a tip with us.
Yes. Well, my tip, I think, would have to be about the pruning pieces of your business away. I think it's easy to want to try everything, and it's natural to do that. But I think when you can get to a point, if you're feeling like there's a lot of stuff going on in your business and it's getting a bit noisy, I would suggest having a good look at what's making you some good money, what you actually feel passionate about, what you're enjoying doing, and what your customers are wanting off you, and just
Yeah,
hone into that and kind of maybe prune off some of the other things. And it's so nice because it feels like it
yeah, it's
might
like
feel a bit
freeing and
scary.
focus.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
massively focuses you and allows you to spend all of your time focusing on just those offerings that are really going to help your business grow, and gets rid of all that extra stuff. It doesn't mean that you can't ever do the extra stuff, but it
oh
just
yeah,
means that you can focus all your energies into a more specific cluster of offerings rather than everything to everyone.
yeah. It's a great tip. I think it's really important, but it's also really hard to do, isn't it? To
It
sort of
is,
niche down.
yeah.
And
Well,
that
it took
again,
me
talking
ages,
about
to
bravery,
be
it takes a
fair.
lot of bravery to be
It
like, I'm
does,
going to do this. I'm going to stick to
yeah.
this, rather than like dilly-dallying around it a bit. It can be quite hard. So yeah,
Yeah,
you said it took ages.
yeah, it did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's got to feel right. I think it does require a little bit of thought and making sure that, but making sure that you are doing it for the right reasons and you're not just holding on to it because one person bought it once and you think, oh, well, maybe I should keep that because you never know. But you probably just need to go, yeah. Probably best to keep nice and focused, I think. So that would be my tip.
yeah, yeah. It's a great tip. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Bravery podcast. Check out the show notes for all the links and information you need, including links to my social media and my website, so you can let me know what you thought of this episode. Please share with anyone else who you think would enjoy this. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next episode.